Next up is Simon Harburg, who figured out a way to hack the market.
Hello sharks. I'm gonna create a product that already exists in the market. In fact, there's hundreds of them already out there. But I'm gonna offer a better version of that product, but set the price significantly lower than any of my competitors. See, in this way, all the users of those other tools would want to use my product instead. What? Welcome to my channel, I'm Simon Harburg. 1.5 years ago, I launched my SaaS product, FeedHive. And to be fair, I was never actually on Shark Tank. That was just me playing around with some green screen to make a dramatic intro. But I did in fact make one of the most common fuck-ups I see with new SaaS products. Not nailing the pricing. Let's just take a look. So this was my launch tweet. The price of my product was set to $5 a month. And the logic being that with a lower price and a better product, everyone would want to come to us. Right? Wrong. And this is bad for multiple reasons. FeedHive is a social media marketing tool, and even though it's a low-touch product, meaning that users can sign up for themselves without interacting with the team, it still integrates with a group of third-party social platforms. Bugs and failures are inevitable, so we do need to have a solid customer support experience ready, which costs money. Additionally, we're operating in a super competitive market, so expecting to grow fully organically without having to spend a substantial amount of money on marketing is just completely unrealistic. So in no way could we defend the pricing point of $5 per month per user. Secondly, it just doesn't have the effect on the user that you think. Think about it. If you come across a product and they price themselves significantly lower than all your competitors, what's your first thought? That it's a shitty product, right? Most people just won't believe it when you say your product is also better, because it's not the impression that the price is giving. Though, be careful here. Nailing the right pricing point doesn't mean increasing the price no matter what. And unfortunately, there are SaaS gurus on the internet that will tell you that raising your prices is the answer to everything. It's not. I've seen horrible examples of products trying to position themselves as exclusive and premium, and reflect that by having prices twice as high as their well-established competitors. But if their products are not premium, which most products aren't in this initial stage, this will backfire. So here's the way to do this correctly. You should use a strategy I call lean pricing, which means that you start at a reasonable pricing point, a little below your biggest competitors, but not too much. Now, you should aim at increasing the average revenue per user by 5% each month until you meet resistance. So let's break this down. You can increase the average revenue per user by adjusting different knobs. If you offer a discount for signing up yearly instead of monthly, you can lower this discount. Or you can aim at getting a bit more users to sign up for a monthly subscription instead. Of course, the trade-off here is that it might hurt retention. You can also incentivize users to sign up for a higher priced tier. This can be done by offering more benefits and features, or adjusting the price difference between your plans, or by adding a more expensive subscription at the higher end to serve as a pricing anchor. Or, finally, you could of course just plain down increase your prices. Though aiming at a revenue increase of 5% instead of only targeting the price point itself gives you way more room to experiment with your pricing model. At some point you'll meet resistance, which shows as a decrease or stagnation of new signups, or people plain down telling you that it's too pricey compared to your competitors. I suggest setting up a spreadsheet to calculate this effectively. In this way, you can also calculate how much churn you're willing to accept as a consequence of the price increase, while still increasing your overall revenue. Alright, the next big mistake I see upcoming SaaS founders make is lacking proper execution. And I bet you've heard this before, but maybe it's not exactly clear what people mean when they talk about good versus bad execution. Let me try to explain. One of my favorite books is this one, Lean Startup by Eric Ries. In this book, they describe this model called Build, Measure, Learn. This is a short feedback loop that enables us to create something, test it out, measure the effectiveness, adapt according to the results, and then take that into a new iteration and do the whole thing over again. In the world of startups, good execution means executing this model very well. And here are a few typical ways founders go wrong about this over and over. They start here, in the learning step. and they get stuck here. This means that they do tons of research. They want to do this just right, so they want to back themselves with as much data as they possibly can. And most typically, they end up overwhelming themselves, causing what's known as analysis paralysis, and they simply give up, long before they even start executing on anything. And the biggest problem is, they're not researching on their own data. They use any public data they can sniff up, and they try to incorporate that into a comprehensive long-term plan that they can feel safe about executing. But they never actually create anything, which makes it impossible to determine whether their idea will actually work or not when carried out in their specific context. Then, on the contrary, you see founders getting stuck here. In the building step, this one is so common among technical founders. They get an idea and then they just start building. Maybe they'll make a few Google searches or read through a few posts on Reddit. And if everything looks good, they'll start writing some code. They know they probably shouldn't because lean. But it's just an MVP. You know, just to get the idea down. They thought it would take a few hours, but before they knew it, they'd been coding for a day, a week, 2 weeks, a month, 3 months of building, and not a single user had seen their solution yet. They never moved on to the measuring and learning stage. And now they're way too far ahead in one specific, made-up direction that they haven't validated yet. Launch day will most likely be very disappointing. Though there's actually another variant of this that I'm starting to see more and more. It's over-execution. They built, then they quickly launch to see if it catches on. And if it doesn't, instead of trying to adapt to the results, they just start over. They build something new. So they are iterating, but they just only iterate on the build step. And when it doesn't give the desired results, they start all over until something eventually hits. This is not good execution either. This is playing the lottery. It's throwing pasta everywhere and hoping that something will eventually stick. There are some big influencers in the indie hacker space who promote this idea excessively, and I think that's why we see a surge of new founders trying this approach. And sure, some people really did hit it hard using this strategy, and they're making millions today. But I would call them lottery winners. It's not an approach I would model. Most likely, it's not going to work that well. Great execution is somewhere in between these two extremes. You don't want a long and comprehensive business plan, so to a certain extent, you should definitely just throw yourself at it and get started. On the other hand, you want to do this in a strategic, process-oriented way, and not just throwing things out there at random. So do some shallow initial research, set some initial goals, and create a hypothesis explaining how you're going to reach these. Build something quickly and get it in the hands of users. Did you reach the initial goals you set? Probably you didn't. Either it went above or below your expectations, and in both cases, you should hold these results up against your initial assumptions. Now, adapt and do the whole thing again. This one is super common as well. Upcoming founders believe that in order to create a successful SaaS startup, they have to create something groundbreaking and innovative. Because that's how all the big ones started, right? Airbnb, Uber, Tinder, Bolt, just to name a few, they all completely disrupted tech and created entirely new markets. So obviously, that's what it takes. To be fair, if you really want to build a unicorn and take it public, then sure, you probably do need to disrupt the market in some way. But if you don't want that, if you're perfectly fine with building a small SaaS that do a few millions a year, then you don't have to be discouraged when you go and search for your great idea just to discover that it already has huge competitors. In fact, that's a super good sign. It means that there's a big market for this and that users stand in line for a solution to the problem you're trying to solve. You just saved yourself a ton of market research and initial validation right there. Though I totally understand how this can seem discouraging. FeedHive is a social media marketing tool, and there was a handful of huge competitors around already, not to mention hundreds of small competing products. Yet, FeedHive is doing great. We have more than 10,000 users on the platform, and we're turning over more than $300,000 each year. And we're growing with around 10 to 15% every single month. We're stealing users from our biggest competitors every single day because they're old and clunky tools built on outdated technologies, and we simply offer to solve the same problem but with way less friction and with the ability to adapt way faster to new features and changes on the social media platforms. And a lot of users are more than willing to change to our solution because of this. So don't be afraid of existing markets and big competitors. Unless you're setting out to completely disrupt the industry, take it as a good sign that you're on to something. Alright, the next mistake I think we're all guilty of, but it's super important to be mindful about it. It's staying within your comfort zone and working on the easy things. This means different things for different people. For developers and product specialists, this means constantly optimizing the product. They tell themselves that if they just add one more feature or make this thing a bit faster, probably users will start coming in. deep down, they probably know that what's missing is good marketing. But that will require them to get out of their comfort zone, which is hard. It's much more convenient to just keep doing what you're already good at. It could also be designers who keep redesigning their landing page or polishing their product, trying to make it more shiny and more attractive. While perhaps the core of the product really isn't that good. It doesn't really solve the user's problems well. It could also be the marketer who keeps optimizing the funnel, keeps running new tests, keeps trying out new channels and creating complex multi-channel retargeting campaigns while the product is neither looking good or solving the core problem well. But that will require looking into product development and learning some coding, which is complicated and hard. Staying in your comfort zone is never the solution. And with today's tools and the information we have available, there's absolutely no excuses for not doing the hard things. If you're a developer, you can learn marketing. Just open YouTube and get started. If you're a marketer, you can learn enough programming to build something really cool with the help of no-code and low-code tools. And if you're a designer, you can learn both of these. There are no excuses here. Though, if you really feel like moving out of your zone of expertise will be counterproductive, the solution is to go and find a co-founder to cover you. Don't fall into the trap of outsourcing the parts you're not good at. It's a trap, I can almost guarantee it. But if you can find a good co-founder that get the same stakes in the business as you have, you can definitely make it work that way as well. So, this is the last and probably one of the most persistent ones. Believing that you don't need marketing and that a good product sells itself. I don't know the exact statistics, but my impression is that founders of SaaS products are technical, more often than not. And technical founders often have a huge barrier when it comes to marketing their products. Either they're simply too product-centric by nature, which makes perfect sense given what they do. But I've also met technical founders who carry a sense of entitlement when it comes to marketing. They're typically the kind of people who hate being marketed at or sold to, and they somehow feel that marketing is beneath them. In either case, telling yourself that you don't need marketing is the one and single perfect way to set yourself up for a huge failure. With the rise of no-code tools like Webflow, Bubble, Zapier, and libraries like React, Tailwind, Chakra UI, and so on, it has actually become really easy to create great products. So everyone's got them now. If you think your competitive advantage is a better, more high-quality product, think again. Because almost everyone can create one of those today. What I don't see that often are SaaS founders with a clear-cut go-to-market strategy, their distribution channels nailed down, and a plan for scale. And yes, I'm talking about an actual long-term strategy here, not just we're gonna launch on Product Hunt. This is much more rare, but I can guarantee you that these guys are gonna win, even if they have a shittier product than you. I can honestly say that I've been guilty of these mistakes as well. And the most annoying part is that once you start changing these and you start seeing better results, you're left with this subtle feeling that you kinda knew all along. Admitting some of these mistakes to yourself is actually quite harder than simply recognizing them and thinking that they make sense. And that's totally okay. It's all part of a process. My first attempt at launching a SaaS product failed miserably. I made all these mistakes. The second one was FeedHive, the one I'm still running today. And in this video, I'm gonna show you how I took it to $1,000 MRR in the first 30 days and how you can replicate it by doing 3 simple things. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and remember to subscribe to my channel for more content. I will see you soon for another video.